Alrighty. Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner Classics as Non-Classics. This is episode number 1367 and Doubleshot number 1261. Yes. Now, with this particular review, we have one book that's the end of an era for the series, and the other one just a book that's a series of one-shot issues. Okay? And they're both Marvel. First up is the final trade of Dennis Hopeless's run for Spider-Woman. Yep, the last one. And what's the premise of this one? Jessica Drew versus the Hobgoblin. Yep. Plus we get some revelations here with this one. That apparently the Porcupine is in love with Spider-Woman. Yep, he's in love with her. Yeah, his ex-wife first was an action figure. Yep. Yeah, and it's also revealed that the Porcupine, this Porcupine, is, well, he had bought, this is part of one of those many franchises the Hobgoblin set up in the Pages of Amazing Spider-Man. So, good nod there. Though, they have it where he has, by the way, in the book, apparently he's got his flaming sword, which I thought that was kind of weird. Especially since that Phil Urich had that sword. As for when the heck got it back, I don't know. That kind of revealed that he was establishing his own villain franchises in the second to last arc of the original Triple Edition numbering, when it was under the 600 numbering for Amazing Spider-Man. I think it was like issues like 694 to about 697. Yeah, it was the Danger Zone issues, which was really good, by the way. Yeah, that one revealed he has a bunch of villain franchises. Apparently Porcupine was one of them. Basically, these people would buy these costumes from him, and they would split the dough with him, like whatever robberies they commit. They would split the dough. He would get a percentage of their, let's just say, whatever they steal, he'd get a small percentage. That's basically how it worked. He originally had the Hobgoblin as part of our franchise, but because Phil Urich joined the Goblin Underground, he discontinued that and became the Hobgoblin again, so to say. As far as I know, in the case of Phil Urich, he's never actually fought Jessica Drew before for this story. You're probably thinking, really? He hasn't? He's been around since the 80s, and yet he never fought Jessica Drew? Nope, never did. Thinking, that's interesting. And of course, well, Ben Urich is the first one to figure out that Roger's in love with Spider-Woman. Yep. And when the start of the story, you had the apparent death of Porcupine, though it's revealed he's actually alive and well and perfectly fine. Yep. And of course, Jessica finds out that he had a thing for her. Like, she found this out from his ex-wife, though, despite the fact she proceeds to make out with him several times in the book. And after they defeat Hobgoblin, we have this sort of in the way it's written, it's a forced reconciliation between Jessica Drew and Carol Danvers, which the friendship had been pretty much on the rocks since Civil War II. And my guess is Hopeless was like, book's ending, let's just try to fix something I did in book. Let's have Jessica Drew and Carol Danvers back being best friends again. The final issue of this book is quite interesting. For one thing, Roger has grown back his beard. Not really sure why, but he did. So, they basically have a party, kind of like we did in the first story arc. Oh yeah, it's also that Gary Drew, Jessica Drew's son, has got spider powers. And he also inherited her Venom Blast, which I thought was quite interesting. And of course, you have various people at this party. You have Carol Danvers, Jen Walters. We have the Jane Foster Thor here. Black Widow. Great sort of people. The only guys at this party like I saw in this book were just Spider-Man and Hawkeye. Like, no Iron Man. You're probably thinking, really? No Iron Man? Well, there kind of was a reason for that, because Iron Man was in a coma at this time these issues came out. And this was, I think, just before, or at least during Secret Empire when this was going on. When this was being released, but Spider-Man, nothing to do with it at all. Oh, by the way, this book contains issues 13 to 17. Yes, of Spider-Woman, I believe this is volume 6. Excuse me, yes. With the artwork by Veronica Fish. Yep. Veronica Fish is the actual artist in this book. The cover art is by Javier Rodriguez. But this, an absolute great story arc. But sad to say, this is the end of this era. Yep. Though, yeah, I don't have the actual previous volume here, but here is Spider-Woman Volume 6. All 3 trades that collect this run. Yep. My final thoughts on this run is that it was a very interesting run per se. Though, and I still have this basically big point about this book, was the fact that they never resolved the biggest plot thread, or at least in the way, answered the biggest question everybody had about this run when it started. Who's the father? Yes. That was something that even I felt as though when this book ended. Like, I was surprised the book ended issue 17. Yeah, it was kind of surprising. Like, the ending just comes completely out of nowhere. I mean, was it candidate to low sales? Possibly, to say the least, but I'm not really sure why they ended this book for. And my guess is Marvel must have realized their mistake when they ended this book and brought it back last year. Even though, yes, it's not Dennis Hopeless writing the book anymore. It's a different writer, which she does an absolutely great job with the book. And the book itself is only around about a year, but the book itself has been really good. Yep. Yeah, and this book ended, I think it was like 2017 when the last issue was released. I believe so. Yeah, I believe it's like... Oh yeah, by the way, this is... the trade itself is called Scare Tactics. Yeah. But the run itself for Dennis Hopeless, lasting from 2014 to 2017, was actually a really good run. I mean, here's the thing. It's by far one of the longest runs for Spider-Woman in years. And this technically was, in a way, her first ongoing series in the 70s. I'm thinking, wait, but what about the Bendis run? As far as I could tell, Marvel has considered that run to be a limited series, despite the fact being promoted as an ongoing series. The reason why it ended after 7 issues, because Bendis got burned out with motion comic stuff. That was the only gist of it. But this book is pure fun, though here's kind of the strange thing. As soon as this book ended, Jess going back to her original costume. Yes, this brand new costume she got in this run, thanks to Dennis Hopeless, dropped. For no reason, and now she's got a black variant of her classic costume. Yeah, I'm kind of like, okay, the obvious question for this is, what is wrong with this costume? Answer, nothing. It's one of 2 books I could think of where we have this writer, basically, where the artist issues a really cool look for the character, and then as soon as the writer leaves, they just go back to the previous look for, like, no reason at all. The only book I've seen this for is Cyborg. Yep, Cyborg is another book I've seen this for. And that book actually ended, I believe it was the same year this book came out. This book ended, it was the same time it ended. It ended issue 23. Actually, it was like the previous year, I think it was. Actually, it wasn't in the same year. It's a Blink You Miss article. Alright, next up it is Conan, Exodus and Other Tales. This book collects 2 one-shots and the final issue of Savage Lord Conan Volume 2, Issue 12. Yes, no idea why it's collected here for and why it's not collected in this trade right here. Yes, which is Conan the Gambler, which was the second trade that collected issues from Savage Lord Conan. Yes, do not know the reason for this at all. I thought it was kind of weird that they just put it in this side book for like no explained reason. If you're curious though what's in this book, you have the Conan Barbarian Exodus one shot, Savage Lord Conan Volume 2 Issue 12, and King Size Conan number 1. Now, in the case of Conan Barbarian Exodus, this book is written and drawn by Eseg Rubit. Great book, yes. There is a slight problem with the book. Yes, great artwork, but we have one small problem. None of the characters speak any English. Yes, no idea why. They just don't speak any English. If you're curious to why I decided to pull that back, it's because my webcam decided to briefly flicker out for some reason. Yes. It's a good tale. This is by far his first book I can think of that S. Rubin basically has written. I can think of. When people think of this character, this artist in the last decade, people think of his run on the series Thor: God of Thunder, which is really good, by the way. Which I think he came back for King Thor. Mm-hmm. Yep. Now the final issue of Savage Conan, that's done by Frank Thierry. Yep, Frank Thierry, and it's a very quick issue. The artwork is out by Andrea Davito. It's mostly for the issue itself. It's mostly a quick one and done story of Conan facing this beautiful woman, and deal with basically a cult, and it's a really quick ending. Yeah, it feels like a quick one side story. Mm-hmm. Yes. But what about King Size Conan? This is a one-shot having various people who have written Conan the Barbarian over the years. The opening story of the thing is called Aftermath and New Beginning. This is done by the original writer of Conan the Barbarian, Roy Thomas. Yep, the original writer. With Steve McNiven in the artwork. Yep. Now then we have second story is King of Thieves, written by Kurt Busiek and art by Pete Woods. Kurt Busiek wrote the Dark Horse run of Conan the Barbarian. Yep. We have Die by the Sword, written by Chris Claremont. I think he wrote maybe a few issues of the original run, but I don't remember him actually being associated with Conan. Kevin Eastman, a guy who, as far as I know, never had any association with Conan, but he probably felt this up because he's a Conan fan. Written and drawn by him. And Ship of the Damned, this is more like a backdoor pilot into the Age of Conan Ballard series. Written by Stephen S. Not by Jesus Sadas. Yeah. And the King Size Conan issue is really good. But for side stuff, basically, for side one-shots for Conan, these are all pretty good. I say the Savage Conan is probably the weakest issue in here because it just feels as though it's just a random story for Conan. The Exodus, really good story. The only thing I didn't like about it was the fact none of the characters spoke English. King Size Conan, great one-shot issue. But in the case of this overall, it's good. Did it feel necessary to release this book? Yes. But I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Yeah, and here's the strange thing, though. Thanks to viewing this, there's technically 2 more trades left to review. There is Age of Conan Valerie and Age of Conan Ballard. Yeah, just a couple spin-off miniseries. And you probably think, okay, you got those 2. What about Dark Angus? Dark Angus has not been released in trade. Not that I know of, no. Because they abruptly cut off that miniseries after 3 issues due to the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Yep. But yeah. That's it for this particular review. And that's it for videos today because I have no other time to do videos. So tomorrow I'll expect reviews for Yoshima Princess Half Demon. Case closed. I think I'll also do tomorrow a review of the Fire Force manga if there's a new chapter that come out tomorrow. And I think that might be it. Oh wait, hold on. There's also newest episode of My Hero Academia. Yep. But to use the next video. Bye.